Okay, we're good. We're live. Well, not live, just us. We're us together. We're live. But so
good qualifier.
Okay, so I think where we want to start is looking back at your last little over a week of training. Well, really, I guess we're looking at the period from like 2 Sundays ago to the last Sunday. And I just want to read this for the listeners because I think to most people this would be pretty insane. To you, this is normal, but to most people. So you split through in 2:10 high for the marathon, then and that was 2 Sundays ago, and then come back 3 days later on the Wednesday, 10 by a K at 2:50, and then a mile at 4:11, and then the next day 4 miles in 18:32, albeit a little bit downhill, but still rolling.
I had a rest day in there.
Oh, that was 2 days after. Okay. But then 2 days after that, this past Sunday, 22 miles at 5-minute pace with a 4:32 last mile. I mean, is this by design? You're just feeling good and fast every day, and you just want to get after it, or like explain this to, I'd say even to some other pro runners, this is pretty extreme training.
Yeah, I mean, I typically do my long runs fairly hard, so they're not. Yeah, I mean, I basically. I mean, since high school, for the most part, my long runs I try to run as fast as I can without like actively like pushing like you would in a race effort. So like if you have to force it, maybe there's like bits and pieces where I have to kind of get myself going. But for the most part, I'm not trying to actively force anything, but I'm trying to run as fast as I can up until that point. And I'm doing all these runs by myself. So there's only, in my mind, there's only so much I'm actually pushing because like you don't typically push past your limits when you're just by yourself. So that's what I typically do, and whatever pace that ends up, it ends up. I don't necessarily try to hit certain paces. And so for the Modesto Marathon, I knew that weekend I wanted to get at least a marathon in of hard effort just to get me out there running hard for over 2 hours and 10 minutes or something like that. And then it was just an easy opportunity to kind of make it a little bit mentally easier to go out and run it's a pretty small marathon, but at least some other people out there. And I knew like I wasn't going to be actually like racing anybody because typically, the second place guy was like 2:41. So it's like I don't have to worry about accidentally like racing someone and running too hard. I just kind of ran what felt within that range where I wasn't actually pushing, but I was running hard. And then, the pace ended up being what it was. So hopefully to me, like that indicates I'm in pretty good shape. And then for my normal workouts, midweek, like within the week, like the 10 by K is a pretty standard workout that I do. And I felt pretty good. I mean, for hitting those paces, they weren't crazy fast, but like they felt good, better than they've ever felt before. And then the mile was a little bit downhill. It's about 85 feet net downhill. So that 4:11 effort wasn't like, I mean, it was hard. The goal was to run hard and get me comfortable running fast down hills. But it was, it maybe wasn't as fast as it looked on paper. And then, the tempo was the best I've felt in the tempo. And then last week, that 22 milers, again, I get out the first mile hard, like you do in Boston. And like I did a downhill mile and then the rest was kind of in that cruise pace. And right now I feel good. Like cruise pace on rolling hills is around 5:05 pace for me. So it's never been that fast. So I feel good. And, I would think I could do a 50K on a flat course close to 5 flat, but I don't know if I'll be able to, I don't know when I'll do one, but that's kind of like that range where I'm at. And then I wanted to run hard, but the last 5 miles or so were up and down, basically a mile. It was like a mile uphill, a mile downhill. And I was just doing that to kind of simulate, miles like 16 to 20 at Boston. And then I finished fairly hard, but I've actually never closed that fast in a long run, but I felt like really good. So
is it safe to say that like your main goals in training are simulating Boston as well as like just running within yourself?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely training for Boston. You have to kind of simulate the course a little bit because it is I guess, a unique course, or it's, it's just different than a flat course, obviously.
Right.
And then I like to run hard because I feel like the hard, long efforts don't really beat me up that much. Like, I feel like I handle the volume of it pretty well. And then, it's not like a 1,500 meter workout where you're really anaerobic and you can like really kind of like destroy yourself a little bit. It's kind of just like it's all aerobic. And obviously, if you've never done those before and you go out and run 25 miles hard or 22 miles hard or whatever, then yeah, you're going to be pretty beat up maybe for a while. But I mean, I've done this literally 50 times or more than that. I mean, I've done it so many times. It's just, it's just like if you go do like a 15-mile run kind of up tempo.
Yeah. What do you say to, I feel like there's always hot debates around running a marathon leading up to your actual marathon. What do you say to the haters?
I don't know. I mean, how many of them can beat me, I guess. I don't know.
There's the clip.
You don't got to be fast to know what's good or not. And it's like, well, you kind of do. I mean, you don't have to, but you don't really know because you're not me. Yeah, and you've just never, you've never done it. Like, what gets you in trouble is doing things that you've never done before. And I'm not doing things I've never done before. I've always trained for a marathon like this. My first marathon I ever did, I ran a 50K in practice, and I closed the last 5 miles. I averaged around 5:45 pace, and I closed the last 5 miles at my intended marathon pace at like 5:18 pace. And that was like after like 7 weeks of training, after basically taking a year off. That's just how I always train for the marathon. So then now, I'm not doing anything different. It's just my paces happen to be faster because I'm in better shape. And I've said this before, but like there's no like magical distance about the marathon that makes it, where your body just like falls apart. Like, why is like an 18-mile run fine, but or a 20-mile run fine, but a 26-mile run, now all of a sudden it's going to take you 8 weeks to recover. Like, it makes no sense. People just make things up, and they have this mental, they're just kind of like, I don't know. Like, what if the marathon was a 50K? Then everyone would do 26-mile long runs or 28-mile long runs. It's like people are just like, humans are smart, but we're also like very limited by these. We just create these concepts and then just run with them as if they're like true, but like we're just making stuff up. And so I think people have this idea that the marathons is just because some dude supposedly died from exhaustion because he had never trained and then went 22 miles. Now it's like impossible a thing to do unless you're in a actual race, and it's just like. It's just dumb.
And it's not true because people then who are not as fast as you, they're going and doing 20 milers, but it's taken them 4 hours to do a 20 miler. And it's like, that's double the time. So it should be measured on time more than mileage, if anything, the amount of time that you're spending burning hot and at a high heart rate.
And then you have ultra runners running like 3-4 hours a day, every day in a row, climbing these mountains at like 10,000 feet of altitude. And it's like, that seems way harder than whatever I'm doing.
Yeah. All right. So, you've convinced me that then it's not that crazy for you to run hard for 2 hours, but it's also, I think I'll say the word scary that you were able to run basically like a PR marathon in practice. So is that a sign then that you like your PR is weak and you're ready to like drop a lot off that? And I know Boston's not necessarily about PRing necessarily. It's a, tactical race and a little bit different, but how do you feel about that? Do you feel like your time wise, your PR should be a lot lower than what it is based on this jump in fitness you're seeing?
Yeah, right now I would say, my PR isn't very good. And I would, if I was racing a flat course in somewhat decent conditions, it would be very disappointing if I didn't PR by quite a bit. Boston, of course, we have no idea how the race will play out, what the exact conditions will be. It is a different type of course. And obviously, that Modesto Marathon is pancake flat. My watch was the elevation was off. There's like 100 feet total of elevation gain. I mean, it's basically like a treadmill. I mean, it's straight flat except for one little overpass. So it was like 48 degrees, 0 wind. I mean, it's about as nice as you can get. But yes, I should be able to PR. And exactly what I can run, I don't really know, but yeah, I mean, I'm ready to run faster than what my listed PR is.
Okay, so is that a sign? Is that foreshadowing then that the strategy that you took to Boston last year is gonna play out again? Is that, I mean, if you're fitter this year, and last year you were ahead by 2 minutes at half, like, is the intent to be ahead by 3 or 4 minutes at half this year? Like, no, but really, like, how are you thinking about it this year? Are you conscious of that and like knowing like I don't want to do that again? I'm gonna sit in the pack this time, or what are you thinking about heading into that tactical wise?
I mean, I have very little control of how much of a lead I have. I think unless there's a really big headwind, I anticipate that my first half marathon split will be faster than last year. I don't anticipate being in the lead, but and again, unless there's a 15-mile-an-hour headwind, I'm most likely going to run faster the first half, or right around what I ran the first half, as I did last year. And if they run 66 minutes again for the first half, then yeah, I'll have a lead, and maybe it'll be more than a lead. I think there's about a 0.2% chance that that's going to happen. I think the race is going to be out a little bit faster. I don't think they're just going to let me go or let anyone go. And I think that, I think the race will go out closer to 62, 63. And depending on where they kind of start to pick it up, I'm not sure if I'll be with the leaders at halfway or not, but I'm pretty confident I'm going to be under 64.
Got it. So it sounds like going into the race, then you're really just kind of focusing on your own race, your own level of effort, and wherever that is relative to the field it is. Is that accurate statement?
Yeah. I mean, if the field, I don't really care if the field runs slow. I'm not going to sit in the pack if they do, but I just don't think that's going to happen. It's if they run what they are capable of running fairly comfortably, where I'm going to fit within the pack. And so they'll kind of just be, you kind of just have to feel it out when you're there, and it really will depend on how fast they're going. If miles 8 and 9, when they're kind of rolling or slight net uphill, if they're going 440, then I'm probably gonna not be with the leaders. But if they're backed off a little bit, and maybe, so it'll just be, it'll kind of just be figuring it out as the race goes. But I'm prepared to run. I'm prepared to run at PR pace, I guess.
How do you make those game time decisions when you're like, well, do I go or not go? Is some of it mental based on your splits and how the course is going to play out, or do you more rely on feel?
Mostly feel, and your body just kind of either lets you go or doesn't. There's not too much, I feel like I have a fairly good gauge of what is my all out effort, I guess, for a marathon. So if it's just too fast, my body's not going to let me go that fast. So I don't think I really have to make a conscious decision to not go or go. Maybe the first couple miles, yeah, because I can run, I can run really fast downhill. I could go out in 4:10, which I would consciously be no, I'm not going to go out in 4:10, but I could. But I mean, I think once you get later in the race, miles 10 or so, it just kind of, you somewhat make decisions, but for the most part, you just kind of feel it, and you just kind of I'm just not running with them right here. But you do have to a choice. You don't want to be completely by yourself. So if I can find a pack that is relatively within range, then I would want to be able to sit on some people. So I don't know. We'll just kind of see. You just kind of figure it out.
I don't know how competitive you are, or how much you use being competitive against others, either other Americans or other people in the race, but curious if there's anyone on your hit list, so to speak, that's in the race where you're like, oh, I got to beat that person. I got to beat that guy. Because I think I was looking at the start list, and just based on PR, I think you were like the 11th fastest American going in, but everyone's within, like 2-minute PR. It's all very close. So I don't know. Do you think about that at all of like, I want to be the fastest American, or is it kind of what you're saying before? Just you're going in, you're running your race based on feel, and however it plays out, it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an extra incentive to be the fastest American, and you're, facial recognition wise, I know I'm better at identifying who all those guys are. Like I know who they all are and what they all look like, so it's easier to identify. I mean, it doesn't really change my race strategies. Where it's not like, 6 miles in, I'm not like, oh, this American guy's up here. Like he's my target. I got to stick up with him and beat him. But definitely in like the later stage of the races, like even last year, like when Colin Benny passed me, there's definitely an incentive to like get back up with him and try to beat him, those last 5 miles. So it more plays out at the end of the race. At the beginning of the race, it's not going to change my tactics at all. But at the end, when you're just trying to find anything to get you to get to the line faster and beat people, like, yeah, definitely the American guys, looking at them to beat them is a little bit more motivating or extra incentive.
Leading into the race here, we're 10 days out recording this episode. What does the taper look like, or is there much of a taper in your training plan?
There won't be. I don't plan on doing too much of a taper until I travel out for Boston on Thursday. So the last 4 days will obviously be pretty minimal. Up until then, though, I like to keep it mostly the same, just without overdoing it. Like today, for example, I had kind of had a workout scheduled. I didn't quite know what I was going to do, but I was going to do something up tempo. And then I was just feeling really tired. So I just slept and ate carbs, and I'll probably go run a little bit after this, but I maybe do some short intervals, but nothing real hard. But so it's just kind of like that. Like if I'm feeling tired, then it's like, okay, I can just make an adaptation and not do a lot. But for the most part, I like to keep it mostly normal up until like a few days out. Just because I just function better on like routines, and I've typically never done well with big tapers. I just like to be consistent.
That's so interesting. So are you plotting out? So you're your own coach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so how far are you plotting out like a season in like placing the key workouts and everything in there? Are you planning that far in advance, or are you kind of more taking it week by week, and like I want to do a hard long run every Sunday, and I want to do like some sort of intervals this day, and then you kind of, I guess, make it up as you go, for lack of a better way of saying it. How do you handle coaching yourself?
Yeah, pretty much that second part that you just described. Like I know I'm gonna do a hard long run on Sundays, and then the workouts midweek, those days are flexible. It's kind of just like whenever I have good time or like good energy, so like sometimes there'll be a Tuesday, sometimes there'll be a Wednesday, sometimes Tuesday, Friday, sometimes Wednesday, Friday, sometimes just one workout, sometimes just a Thursday. It's like, what I do midweek just really depends on my energy level, how I'm feeling, what I have life-wise the rest of that week. And then the workouts, they just, it kind of just whatever seems enjoyable that day. I mean, there's like that's going to fit within marathon training and what I've done kind of leading up to it. But I mean, for the most part, the marathon is not super complex. Like most of your workouts are going to be somewhere around the like 10K to half marathon pace range. And like sometimes you dip down to like some 5K stuff, but you don't really do a whole lot of that. And then you do lots of like neuromuscular stuff, like some like quicker 200s or like some sprints or something. But the bulk of your work is somewhere around threshold. And that's kind of standard for everyone. So coming up with workouts, it's like, it doesn't really matter. You just run somewhere around, your threshold, slightly faster, slightly slower, just wherever, and get some good work in, and then make sure you're hitting up and down hills. Like for Boston, like you got to do a little bit extra hill work, but also extra downhill work. And so I'll do a few like sprints and strides and different things downhill to make sure that I'm moving right and kind of toughening my legs up that way. But yeah, I mean, the training is not super complex for a marathon. And I can typically tell if it's working because my long runs are getting faster, feeling easier. When I dip down to like 450 pace or whatever, it feels more comfortable. And so I'm just trying to I'm assessing what I need to make those faster marathon paces feel more comfortable. So I'm not just stuck at 5-minute pace, but now I can move down into, I can run some 445s and feel okay, and just trying to figure out, what I need to do to feel that way.
Do you feel like the extra work and like cognitive load of being your own coach is worth it, given that you gain some extra flexibility into your personal schedule?
Yeah, interestingly, I hardly feel any cognitive load as far as being my own coach or coming up with my workouts, because I have just a very laid back approach, I guess, to the actual training, just because I don't know. I just feel like the super specifics, your body doesn't know. It doesn't know. So it doesn't, you could write out a workout and be like, this is supposed to work this system or whatever. And I cognitively know that, I know the physiology, but you're just getting work in. And so the specifics of what you do don't really matter that much. And so, I mean, a lot of times I'll just alter workouts in the middle of a workout based on how I'm feeling or based on what I'm doing or kind of what seems fun. And it's never like, oh, I didn't get this done, or I didn't it just, sometimes I feel like that, and but for the most part, I don't know. I just find the marathon training is it's easy. If I was 5K training, it'd be different, because it's just way more complex. And 1500 meter training, it's just, I'd be super, like a taper for a 1500. I feel like I'm more okay, I'd be more anal about what am I okay, I gotta cut back this volume. I really gotta hit this intensity. I gotta make sure all these things, there's so many different aspects you have to hit. Whereas the marathon is really just one injury system. You just go out and run for a long time.
Yeah. I feel like the shorter distances are much more high stakes, whether you're coaching yourself or you're in the race itself.
And you can screw it up easily. Anything where you need at least some anaerobic training in there, you can definitely screw it up. And this kind of
it's kind of funny to describe. I'm sure a lot of people listening right now are thinking you're describing marathon training as being easier to figure out than shorter training
strategically, perhaps. I
mean, strategically, but it's just funny that it's 120 miles a week versus 40 miles a week. Most people think of it in that term, not in terms of the different systems that you need to hit and develop and all of that. So, and I think that's so much maturity around. I don't know. I know me personally, if I don't have some sort of structure laid out, then if I allow myself to make it up on the fly or adjust on the fly too much, then I'll usually bitch out or something along those lines. And I think that's where it seems like you've got that down pretty well of knowing where you still need to get work in, but you also know not to overdo it and put yourself into a hole. I think in pro runners in general, I guess would probably be good at not underworking, but for the general public, that would be the biggest problem is I'm kind of tired today. I'm not going to do that workout. I'm just going to go run 10 miles easy and call it a day
that's,
and then it would just be that every single day.
Yeah. No, you definitely have to know yourself. Yeah. Have to know yourself. And I don't typically have that problem. At least when I'm within 10 to 12 weeks of a race, I don't typically have that problem, but. And then, and it's been learning to kind of back off sometimes. I was doing mile repeats a few weeks ago, and I was running faster than I anticipated I'd run, and I felt really good. And I was just cutting down really naturally, and I wanted to do a few more because I'm how fast can I go? But then I was I've already got good work in. I'm gonna do a long run in a couple days. I don't need to my calves would probably tighten up or get too sore if I really went hard on a few more. So then it was that was a time when I held myself back, and I felt it was good. And so there are decisions you have to make like that. But it's just learning yourself, and what if you err on the side of, or if you lean to the side of I'm just not going to do anything, and you do way less, or if you tend to overdo it. And so you got to find what you do.
In your I guess you'd call them maybe like self negotiations. How does coach CJ work with dad CJ work with athlete CJ? Like what happens when you get like 4 hours of sleep or 3 hours of sleep in a given night?
I would probably die, I think. No, my wife is really good. So she's our baby. Well, our baby is good. First of all, he's not like up all night. He usually will wake up, one or two times a night and usually goes back like pretty quick. So she's basically takes care of that. And so I've been able to sleep through the night for the most part. So yeah, I haven't had any, when I do, if I had like multiple 3-hour night sleeps, I wouldn't, I don't know what would happen. I don't do well with not getting sleep well. So yeah, so that part's been fine. And actually, and like some ways it helps. Like there's been a few times like, it's like, sometimes I would, before I had Luke, our baby, like I would have some time and then I would just kind of like lay around and then it'd be harder to like get up for my second run. But then now it's like if I have to pick him up from, because like actually for today, for example, my wife is working. She's a nurse. So she has a nice schedule. So she's working 2 days a week right now, like part-time, but even full-time, it's 3 days a week. But so my mom's watching him but it's like, so then if I have to pick him up at a certain time, it's like, I don't really have time to wait. I just like finish all my work stuff. Then I go run because then I got to go pick up the baby. So just like, it kind of forces you sometimes when you have less time, you just do everything because you don't have time to think about it. You just got to go do it.
I feel that.
So yeah, this build up for Boston has been really busy. Probably one of the busiest semesters. I always do things in semesters because I'm a teacher and coach at a college. So this semester has been one of the busiest, but I feel like I've gotten really good training just because like I've been so busy. I haven't had time to like think about anything. I just go do my stuff and go to sleep.
And I guess that's the key to running well. It's just busy yourself.
Stay busy,
yeah.
But not too busy. Not so busy that you still have time to train, but stay busy so that you're not worrying about things or putting things off or anything like that.
Enough time you can get 8 to 9 hours of sleep with an occasional nap once a week and get your training in. But then the rest of the day is pretty much filled. And then that's like the ideal. Yeah.
So we had you actually just kind of answered one of the listener questions. So someone, I won't say who, someone submitted 2 questions. One of the questions was, how does your wife support you? Another question was, though, that we need the answer to this one. Give one reason why Luke is the cutest baby on earth.
He just always is smiling. Well, not always, but for the most part, he's just smiling. So he's got a very good smile. Yeah, I think he's gonna do well when he's older because his smile just makes you feel. He just looks at you and smile like every time, like
just melts
up or someone comes home. Like if my wife is at home when I get home, then like as soon as I come in, he just looks at me and smiles, or like he almost always greets you with a smile, and it's like it's a very good feeling.
That's too cute.
I'm surprised you're not going to reveal your source there.
No. All right, this
all right.
person said not to reveal the source.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. Do you have any guesses?
I don't know. Maybe my wife. I don't know.
It's not your wife. It's someone else though. Oh man. Okay. So another kind of like broader area topic we wanted to ask about was just all the, I guess for lack of not really quirky records because they're legit records, but like especially during the pandemic, doing like the indoor marathon. I guess that was before the pandemic, but then the treadmill marathon, and then also the 50K on the track as well. So I guess was that all of those races in general? Is it just a way to keep yourself motivated, excited, and doing something fun during the pandemic? Or I don't know, were those things that you were thinking about kind of all along, or they just happened? Explain where all of those different records and record attempts came from.
The indoor marathon, I signed up for like maybe 3 to 4 weeks before it happened. I kind of saw it was like, that seems interesting. Then my sister-in-law like texted me like, I know the race director, you should do it. And I was like, okay. And so I just kind of did it. There really wasn't much planning. I actually ran a marathon 2 weeks before, and then I ran a 10-mile race the week before.
Oh, of course you did.
Because I had some stuff already. And then the indoor was just like, I don't know, I guess I'll just do it. So yeah, there was literally
that was on a 200-meter track, right?
Yeah, it's at the Armory. So there was literally there's no planning for that. It just kind of happened, and the treadmill thing that there was no, that it wasn't a race. I don't know, for whatever reason I didn't want to go outside that day, and then as I was preparing, I was like, man, maybe I'll just see if I can just run 2:10 pace, see how long I can last. And I made it the whole marathon, and then a little bit extra too. So that was planned about 15 minutes before. I just kind of hopped, and then people saw it on like Strava or something, and it became a story.
Yeah, you gained a lot of clout and Strava followers, and also Let's Run message boards after all those things, and of course everyone's like, oh, well, was the treadmill off? Was the treadmill calibrated? Like, it's all this like stuff. It's like, regardless, it's fast. Like, who cares? Like, whatever. It's just it's funny.
But you've got quite the treadmill setup. When did the I guess to like talk a little, I've seen pictures.
Yeah, we
and
saw a
some
picture
specs.
of a treadmill setup with some good lighting, some good sound system. Is that still the current setup?
Yeah. So I don't have like so I used to have like 10 heat lamps on there. I don't have all those heat lamps because I haven't. It's just not, I mean, it's not always that necessary to need that many heat lamps because I was getting it so hot. It was like this. It's kind of excessive. But I still have some heat lamps in the back. I haven't really used them much because I haven't been training for anything that's like going to be a really, really hot race. But then I have like a red light panel that's in the front. So that's more for like recovery, just like red light therapy basically, but while I'm running. And then, I have a decent sound system, but it's not, I got it from like a garage, like a yard sale. It was just like a subwoofer and a little sound bar thing that is hooked up to.
Was that an impulse buy, or were you like, oh, I need some sound system for my treadmill setup?
No, I just bought it. It was like, they were like $30, and I looked it up. I was like, this is normally like $200-300. So I just bought it actually before I even knew I could hook it up to my treadmill. I didn't realize it would work, and then I didn't have it didn't have the cords, and then I realized I actually had a cord that worked for it, and I don't know. So yeah, I just randomly bought it, but yeah. So my treadmill setup's that, and then I got a good deal on a TV. It's like a 65-inch TV. It was from Target, and it was like half off, and then you got 10% off if you picked it up for some reason. So it was like $200. I ended up paying like $50 for this giant TV that's really nice. So that's in there too.
You're scrappy. You're deal finder. I like it. That's good.
Yes, I am. My whole family, like my side of the family, that's just going back to my grandparents. That's just how we've been. So
what's usually what do you usually have playing on the TV, or do you watch TV while you're training on the treadmill?
I don't always watch TV. It depends on like what type of run I'm doing, but sometimes I watch like sports games. Sometimes I'll just like rewatch shows like Community or Parks and Rec. Like I know all those shows, so I don't really have to watch. I can just kind of like listen, like I just know what's going on. Sometimes like I'll be into new shows, so like I'll watch an episode of like if I'm, in a new show at the time, or if I'm watching like, I don't know, like a seasonal type show. But I mean, yeah, really just anything.
And how about music then? What type of music you bumping?
I'm not a big music guy. Like I don't know, like you can name off a bunch of like people, and I probably wouldn't know them. I mean, I know like super famous people, but I mean, usually if I'm on the Peloton, the Peloton people play the Peloton stuff. And they usually have pretty good music. Anything that's upbeat. I don't like to run to slow stuff. So it's got to be upbeat. But other than that, that's really my only requirement, is that it's got a good steady upbeat, happy-ish. I don't like sad things. So, or I don't like, at least when I'm running, like I don't need any cathartic, sad music while I'm running. Like,
I'm curious on the red, you mentioned it was like red light therapy.
yeah.
What is that for the uninitiated?
It's basically just like, so it's a specific frequency of light, and it's it's supposed to help like enhance blood flow, help with muscle recovery, can help with like skin and like cellular repair, just kind of things like that. Just overall like recovery and repair, and some things will say like they'll help, like if you use it before like weightlifting or something, like you'll have like increased like protein muscle synthesis after, and so they just, there's like, there's studies about like lots of different things with them, but I don't know, I mean it feels good to me. I feel like it keeps my, like if I'm like tight or something, kind of like loosens me up too. And like it's also with, there's red light and then also near infrared light, and so the near infrared kind of heats you, like a near infrared sauna. And so it can be helpful as like a warm up too.
What other people always want to know, like what are the other things you're doing to round out your running? Like, are you into any other like recovery stuff, or when you're doing like 4 good workouts in a week, like obviously you're pretty good at recovering, and maybe your body's just built different. But are you doing like anything else special or out of the ordinary to try to recover? You just,
what's your snake oil?
Yeah, we need a life hack. Like do this one thing and you're gonna improve your marathon by 20 minutes. That's what we're looking for here.
All right. Well, I never do 4 workouts in a week, but. Well, I guess double work, yeah. But
I guess there was an 8-day period. Your Sunday to Sunday that I read off was technically an 8-day period.
Okay,
but,
yeah, definitely. I mean, sleep and rest is definitely like the number one. I mean, just being able to just kind of like chill out, relax, actually sleep. But yeah, other than that, like nutrition wise, or just kind of overall wise, I've been using a lot of Lacto-Go to try to like increase my muscle carnosine levels. It also has magnesium, which just helps the absorption, but I feel like the magnesium itself is also beneficial. Alt red, it's like betalins, but I typically take that, and that feels good. I think helps with recovery. I just got this new like powder thing. It's like nitrates. It has like 500 milligrams of nitrates per scoop, and it's so I've been using that, and that just helps, just with blood flow and vasodilation, and just kind of keeping everything circulating well. For my long runs, I'll use ketone esters, so like I'll use ketone aid, usually around like 20 grams, which is like 40 milliliters, and it's supposed to help. Well, they say it helps with recovery too, but it's supposed to help like spare your glycogen a little bit. So then, when I'm recovering, like some of those big efforts, like I'm maybe not using as much glycogen because I'm burning fat a little bit better. And then I can replenish my glycogen stores. And then just like general things like eating right after, you work out. So like I try to get in, I have this, it's also another nitrate powder, but mixed with maltodextrin by Science and Sport. I think they literally just called nitrate powder. But basically, I use it for like the maltodextrin too, because it absorbs really quickly, so like replenishes those glycogen stores. Kind of helps with your hormones whenever you get carbs. Helps to control cortisol when you get carbs in right after you work out. And then some protein powder. And then just general like vitamins, iron. It's kind of just like
how do you pick up all these like little tidbits along the way? Is that something that you actively seek out, or is it just something that you read about and you're like, okay, how do I incorporate this into my training regimen?
Yeah, so since high school, I mean, I've read thousands of studies and articles, just like on everything. Like, I mean, weightlifting, biomechanics and stuff, but supplements and nutrition. Yeah, like I used to make my own recovery drinks in high school. Like I'd have, I'd buy powder, and I'd get whey protein and, do all the 4-to-1 ratios or whatever. And, I'd have all these powders in these bags that I'd be mixing into my water bottle after practice. And then over the years, basically just, I'm always like researching things. Just over the past, I don't know, how old am I? 28. So the past like 11 years, I guess, just kind of just constant research. And then some things like, I've done so much. I've said other stories of things I've done. Like I've created my own muscle lotions that included turmeric. So my legs were all yellow. I've had these.
Was that a listener question?
That was a listener question. Yeah.
I've had a lot of, I've tried so many different things and not all of it worked and not all of it was feasible. And now that I'm like actually like professional, like it, now it all has to be like informed sport and tested because I'm pretty paranoid about contamination stuff. So everything has to be from reputable brands that are tested by the those agencies that test
USADAs of the world.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's kind of in a way it's disappointing because I can't like there's some like nootropics like basically brain supplements and stuff that I really want to try, but they're not in the informed sport testing. And technically they don't have any banned substances, but I know I'd be too stressed out that they'd be contaminated or something. So there's things that like I can't try that I want to, but it's like whatever. I think there's enough stuff that is out there that's tested that that works that I've been able to utilize.
So you've been making your own concoctions for 11 years. Like, have you thought about like actually producing one and starting a brand around it? Yeah. Like, I don't know. It seems a lot of, I don't know, runners or just, I don't know, social media influencers, like people in general that are in the public eye. Like, it's a good opportunity to say, hey, this product works for me. Like, you want to use it? I don't know. Have you thought about that as like a side hustle that could maybe be like a bigger company or job someday?
No. Well, I may be kind of working with like a probiotic company a little bit, but I'm not that. I don't really want to be I don't want to do my own at all. I'm really interested in like I would be like the researcher behind the scenes, or like I maybe formulating it or something, but I don't want to do I'm not interested in like having my own business like that, or even like social like influencing thing. Like I'm just not good at that. Even if you look at my Instagram, the posts I have I think are okay, but they're not very frequent. Like it's just, and I have a job. I have a pretty good teaching and coaching job, so I don't necessarily. This is not something I really want to do. I'm not good at advertising. It's like I'll tell you what it does, just matter of factly, like this is what it is, and you either want to do it. Because like I don't like when people try to sell me things. It's like, you don't have to sell me. I'm going to go up and look up everything about your product, and I'm either going to like your product or I'm not going to like your product. You telling me something has zero influence as far as whether I buy it or not. Obviously, the mass population isn't like me, but I can't like, I don't know. It's hard to sell because I think about how I am, and I know people aren't like me. I don't know.
What's your like weak spot do you have a weak spot for marketing and advertising? Because I feel like I identify with like, oh, I'm just going to look up what your product does, and if I like it, I'll buy it, and if not, then I won't. But I feel like my weak spot is Apple products, because they're not really like that amazing, but I'm like, oh, the marketing's like so good. Do you have a weak spot?
Apple, I like the phones. I like the phones because they like integrate with, they kind of, it's not necessarily the advertising, but they make their own little Apple ecosystem. So, you have your app iMessage and stuff. So it just makes it makes a lot of things more convenient. I don't like Apple computers because I feel like those are inconvenient because they don't work with anything. And it, like, my wife has a Mac and I hate it. Like, it doesn't, because it's only like Mac stuff, and it's just, I don't like, but so yeah, technology stuff, whatever's convenient. So I feel like iPhones are convenient, and now I've used an iPhone, so I don't want to like have to figure out how an Android works. but I don't
Yeah.
really like when like new iPhones come out. I used to just have the iPhone SE and I would just keep getting that every time it broke. Now it's so outdated that it's like it's like not good. So I actually did get suckered into getting the 12 or not the new, I think they have the 13 now, but whatever the one was the first one that had like the 3 camera thing. I got that because I was intending to get more into like posting pictures and taking pictures because like the old phone I had, like the pictures were terrible. But I was like, maybe I'll get one. Maybe I'll actually post and my pictures actually look good. So that was kind of the intention. I'm like, this is a investment. And I actually did. It was a business write-off, but because I do have a running business.
Of course.
I don't really post much more pictures.
And when you're a runner, like all the good pictures of you, you're not going to take them on your own phone. It's going to be some photographer at the race that takes the good pictures of you anyway.
Yeah.
So I was going to say about so you don't want to run a business, but we would love to run a business. And if you like royalties, you can formulate the concoction for us, and then we'll figure out how to mass produce it and sell it and market it, and we'll just give you a royalty, or you can own whatever, a third of the company. I mean, what do you say? You in on that?
I mean, I would do that.
I trust your research. I mean, that's what would sell it though, is the fact that it's like, I tested this on myself for my entire running career. So any other athlete can use that as example of this person like
formula market to get into. I think on Shark Tank.
It definitely is
a really crowded market.
Very crowded. Yeah, and if you go on Shark Tank, they're gonna hate on you for trying to sell snake oil, basically. So we're not gonna go Shark Tank route. We're just gonna give it out to a bunch of runners. They're all gonna like it, and they're gonna find it useful for themselves, and then because of that, they're gonna plug it, and it'll be word of mouth. I think that's the strategy. Just like actually make a product that people like, and then it'll sell itself.
I like that.
All right, we got a couple fun listener questions here to close out. Do you want to start?
Oh, somebody says drop the arm routine.
The what? Oh,
like what's your arm routine? You have guns.
Yeah, my arm routine.
Carrying babies. My
arm routine is I literally try to avoid using any part of my upper body ever, because if I like. My upper body just holds on to muscle, and I get, for a normal person, it's like an amazing trait. But as a marathon runner, it's the most annoying thing, because like I won't even touch. Like I don't even like to, when we're in the weight room lifting with our athletes, I don't even like to carry the weights, because like if I'm carry this weight, my body's gonna be like, see, you need this muscle, like we're gonna hold on to it. So like I try to not even touch the weights with my arms, because like and at any point in time I can do 75 push-ups in a row. Like I just have this upper body strength, even though I stopped doing all upper body stuff, except for a little bit of upper back, and some postural things. But yeah, like chest, biceps, pretty much useless in distance running, like shoulders, they just.
So you think
that's wild?
You could probably give Ryan Hall a run for his money, like post marathon career.
Yeah, you have the natural.
You could get yoked.
Yeah, muscle generation ability to get up to Ryan Hall's level if you want to go that route.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be that big. I think I would like top out at like 165 and have like really nice lats, pretty good chest, but still be able to like run like a pretty fast. Well, anything, but like fast 400, like the 400 build, like that's a nice build. So
it is
absolutely
it's the ideal build.
Yeah, but a short one.
Yeah.
I can't change my height.
What's your
Yeah, true.
What's your I feel like we had this question like very early episodes. What's your 400 time if you're like, for whatever reason at I feel like we'd always ask like college athletes this, but like if you're at a party that gets busted by the cops and you need to run a 400, what's your time?
Gosh, I don't know. Probably like, if I had to guess, like maybe somewhere like 53, 54. In high school, my junior year of high school, I ran a 50.2 and a 4x4 split, but I couldn't run that right now.
That's moving.
I'm not as fast anymore.
When is the 100-mile debut? That's another listener question.
After the 50-mile and 100K debut, so I don't know. I don't know. The 100-mile, I'm for sure going to do, I mean, barring I don't have a career-ending injury, I'm going to do a 50-miler and 100K like at some point. The 100-mile, I mean, I'll probably end up doing it, but I'm not as for sure I want to do. But like the 50-mile and 100K just seem like that's like a really good distance that I feel like I could just crush. The 100-mile, I don't know, but like I don't want to do a trail 100-miler. Maybe like or at least competitively, because I feel like I would get beat by a lot, and I'd be so mad the whole time because I'd be tripping on rocks and like I'd be getting crushed, and like if any like really good female trail runner was running it, they'd crush me, and I'd just be so mad. So I would stick to like I'd be like the track, just running around the track 100 miles.
That's so funny because
that's probably what I'd do it on.
That's funny because most people would say the opposite. They'd say if I'm going to do 100 miles, I want it to be scenic so I can take my mind off of it. But yeah, you'd rather just do it. I guess if you do it on the track, I mean that's the way to crush a world record. That's where the world records are set for the 100 miles. So yeah, you can definitely.
Things I'm good at. I mean, I'd like if it's. I mean, I'll only end up doing things just for fun, but they're more fun when you're good at them, and I'm just not good on the trails, and I never have been. And when we were in Arizona, if anyone's been to Phoenix area, there's South Mountain, and I hated it. Did not like the South Mountain. The day I graduated, I never ran up the trail again. I would drive to the backside, and there's a road that actually goes up all the way, and it's great. It's like 3% incline the whole way for 7 miles, and then you can just absolutely fly coming down. It's so much fun, but all throughout college, we had to run up the stupid trail, and it's like, I hate this.
Oh man, that's hilarious. It's hilarious how different perceptions on what's fun and what's not.
Yeah, what's I'm curious because I have I have a few things that I don't like doing recreationally just because like I'm not good at them. Do you have anything like that, whether it's like with your wife, family, or your buddies that you're like, oh, I'm not gonna like golf or something because you're not good at it?
I golf. I don't like golf. And it's so boring. I mean, maybe it's boring because I'm so bad at it and I've just never really done it. But like art type stuff, like I have no patience to like do art because I'm very bad. And so yeah, anything like that, singing or dancing stuff, or just like any in like the fine arts category, except for like acting. Like I always wanted to be in a play. So if you guys are writing a play or something, I'll in acting. Like singing.
Can't say that's on the horizon.
I'm very, very bad at singing and dancing, but I can. I took.
We'll get some skits for you.
Yeah, little mini skits.
That's good. Okay, another one was why is Fresno one of the best places to train? You do. Or is it one of the best places to train? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you do have good weather pretty much year round, even when we have like the summer, like it gets hot, but the mornings are still nice. So like as long as you're, running before 10 a.m., it's generally pretty nice, like in the 70s. And then in the winters, it's like we don't have snow, and it's like it'll get into like the 30s in like the early morning, but then it's in the 50s in the afternoon. So the weather's generally pretty nice. People wouldn't think of it as nice. They think of it as like, really hot and stuff, but it's like, I do. But for the most part, no one just goes out and runs at like 5 p.m. in the middle of the summer. You run in the morning like normal people. And then, there are real nice parts of it. Like I live right across the street from Woodward Park where the California high school state meets held. And the community college state meets held there too, but it's really nice. I think one of the best cross country courses. And then there's like there's bunches of areas to run from there. And there's a good just like running community. Like there's lots of little groups, and it's a big city. I mean, Fresno's like over like 600,000 now, and then Clovis is kind of like the adjoining city is another 200,000. So there's close to like 1 million people in the in the county, but it's also very like small town, like, you know, at least in the running world, like everyone knows each other and is pretty friendly. The high schools are super good. Like there's just good running energy. Like Buchanan, the girls they're like second at the running lane championships this year. They won state and track. There's a bunch of good programs. I went to Buchanan, so I'm a little biased, but they are really good. But I mean, there's a bunch of good high school programs all in the area. So at the state meet, we have pretty good representation from the Fresno, Clovis area, Madera. So it's just, there's just like it's just a good running community that if you're not from here, you wouldn't really know that. But yeah.
Plus, there's no Poopgate scandal.
Yeah, no, no. Well, and the tracks, like I have so many, like I guarantee whatever, I don't know, Sedona, wherever they train, like the tracks I train on are way nicer. Like Buchanan's track, Clovis North, any of the tracks. I mean, we got Mondo at Clovis North. Buchanan is the Benyon. It's the same that they have at Mount Sac in Oregon now. I mean, these are world-class tracks. I don't train on the track that much, but if I want to, I can go to a world-class facility anytime, and you know it's better than some rink-a-dink track that these other pros are going to.
Oh, that's good. I think this is a good one to close out here. I mean, we've already talked about this, but someone submitted this is more of a statement, but if you're leading at 18 miles at the Boston Marathon again, Doghouse Grill in Fresno is on me, coach.
Okay.
Is that enough of an incentive to want to lead to get some free meal out of it?
If I'm leading at mile 18 again this year, then I think it'll be it's going to be pretty fun. So.
Well, we are definitely excited to watch. We're having a watch party ourselves, a live watch party. So we'll be watching. I took the day off work just so I could tune in to the race.
You actually?
I mean, I just blocked my calendar and said no meetings today. I'm just gonna be watching Boston on the live stream with people. So
I'll do that too.
It'll be fun. Yeah, it's gonna be fun to tune in. It's always a good event, and hopefully you'll get some good weather this year for it, and a lot of people out cheering in the crowd, and get a lot of spectators out there too.
Yeah, no, I mean it seems, at least from like the pre stuff, it seems like there's gonna be a lot. Like it's going to be a pretty big event. I mean, obviously Boston's a huge event, but I mean, even compared to like they said last year was smaller crowd wise and expo, like everything wise, it was just different than it was. But this year it seems like it's full swing, and I mean, we have a ton of things lined up before it. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
We'll be cheering you on.
Yeah. Best of luck when you're out there crushing it in the lead at mile 18. Just remember that we're watching, we're cheering for you, we're rooting for you. So yeah, to get that crown, crush all the rest of the Americans. Actually, I don't know if I should say that because maybe we have some other Americans running that are friends.
Do.
But hey, you know what? Crush them anyway.
You say the same to all of them. It's.
That's right.
I like
right.
it.
That's what I tell. Even my athletes, it's like when they're in a race, it's like I want them to compete with each other too. I mean, in track, cross country, we try to group up, but in track, it's like I want them to drop them, so I'm yelling at them, drop this guy, this girl. But then as soon as the next guy come on, you can catch them. Let's go, like
Yeah, I love switching off. Like if you're rooting for a specific team, like switching off who you're rooting for as an individual, like on that team. I think that's like the best competition is your own teammates.
It is. All right. Well, any final words or things you want to plug before we sign off here?
I don't know. I'll probably think of things after the fact, but I don't know. If you notice on my feet, I'll be wearing the Hyperion Elite 3s, but I'll have the tongues cut out. So if you can spot that, that'll be like a trivia thing. Kind of spot the uppers cut.
There we go.
I have very
okay. Why cut the? Yeah, why cut the tongues? What's the reason? I
have very my feet are like very thick, so like they butt up against the top and basically rub, and so they'll end up bleeding. So I did this in the past, like years ago with other shoes. I just was like, I figured out what was rubbing me, and I'm just like, what if I just remove it? So I cut it out. In the indoor marathon, my shoes actually didn't have any tongues. I don't know if anyone ever noticed that, but I cut the tongues out. And then, so then I just started doing that with a lot of my shoes. And I didn't do it last year for Boston. And it wasn't too bad because it doesn't always rub bad enough that it bleeds, but like, I just like, I don't want to take the chance. So I started doing it, and like, they're easy to cut because of the material. But yeah, when I ran my last few long runs, they've been with that cut thing, and they feel really good. So
we'll have to get you a custom edition of the shoe that comes pre-cut out.
Yeah, seriously, you got to make the CJ Albertson version. There's just no tongue in there already. They just ship you 10 of them.
Yeah, I feel like they should just make shoes like that. Why I don't? No one has ever described to me the purpose of the tongue.
I've never even thought about it. Like now that you're saying it, yeah, I don't know, but it's just I've never thought about it.
I mean, the material is pretty lightweight, but like it's still theoretically some weight, and it's like because like it's not like it protects you from rain. Like your feet get wet. I mean, and they're all mesh. Yeah. I mean, all the uppers are going to like mesh type. The racers at least they're going to like mesh type stuff anyway. So why even have anything? You know, what's the point? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that is a good little insider tip for people watch. Anyone who listens to this and watches, we'll be on the lookout for that. It's a little inside.
Yeah, if you need, if you, that's just my mentality with all life. Like if something doesn't work for you, then like just alter it so that it does. And that's kind of what I do in training. That's what I do with anything in life. So like you can complain about something. Like I could complain about the thing is rubbing my feet, and I could just, but it's like, or I can just fix it. So just, just alter whatever it is. It's usually you can come up with a solution. So
I like that. There's good words of wisdom, good advice to go out with. I love that. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. We'll be cheering for you. It was good to learn a little bit more about the crazy life of CJ Albertson. So thanks for coming on.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.